Adobe Premiere Pro or any editing application in my personal laptop, who cares? No one cares. But the same softwares or same applications or any PUP, potentially unwanted programs, they usually call it in corporate environment.
Right? There are flights going in and out. The risk is of life now. HIPAA, health, risk is of life now. So they have the most strict regulations now.
If the tool says my company has a critical issue, that doesn't mean I have a critical issue for my own company.
2000 was like, oh my God, will the computer start? Well, yes. Right? It's just a number. It might come as 00, and we all found out a way.
Then if I am a gamer, I download a crack game some point of time. Hello Cyber Warriors. So today we are going to have a tech talk series on cybersecurity, but we have seen a multiple technical topics in our Cybervoyage channel. And today we are going to see and we are going to meet Mr. Cherag Shah. And I'll tell you a small introduction about Cherag Shah. So 2002, he started his career as a software engineer. So it's been like a 20 or 25 years. He has worked in multiple designations, risk management and founders, and then few companies. Now he is a chief transformation officer. In this session, we are going to see about what is GRC, and first of all, welcome Mr. Cherag Shah for our channel.
Thank you.
So you would like to get more inputs on cybersecurity GRC. So we have, I'll give you a small introduction about our channel. So
Please.
CyberVoyage is our channel. So 2021 we started this channel.
Okay.
And our channel is all about cybersecurity. So we wanted to bring more information about cybersecurity stuff to layman persons.
Brilliant.
And the first thing is, if you wanted to become a cybersecurity professional, and people always say, I wanted to become a cybersecurity professional, I wanted to become an ethical hacker, and how to become an ethical hacker.
Sure.
But if I wanted to go for any other course material, always they say ethical hacking, offensive area, defensive area, then penetration testing, you need to technically very strong. Most of the course materials doesn't focus on the management part. So
Sure.
here Mr. Cherag Shah is going to say about the GRC, governance, risk and policies. We wanted to get more information on what is GRC, because if a company or if any other organizations, of course, the people will be having, the technical people will be having all this information, but we wanted to know about what is GRC,
Sure.
how GRC plays a vital role in an organization.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me, and hello to everyone who is watching. So as the word GRC says, right? So let's start with the acronym. The acronym is pretty simple: governance, risk, and compliance. Those are the three pillars for any of the company, let it be IT, financial, retail, you name the sector. For any of the company, these are three pillars for helping them to get the starting to ground up. So for example, we are a fintech company, and it's a new bank. What all policies do I have to adhere to, right? $1 million question. Before you get your first client, this is the place where you start with. You know, how does your vision and mission of the particular company tie? That will define your governance. How you are going to set it, what you are going to implement, how you are going to push it top down. So GRC is first time in technology where we're saying we are pushing it top down. So our CISO will push it down, will eventually go to policies, procedures, will come to risk. Risk is basically how we are doing business with. Risk profiling will come in. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Risk matrix would come in. How do we measure and maintain our risk register? And all of this jargon starts playing in. But in simple terms, cybersecurity is what we do at the ground up. If we have 10,000 people in our company, are their all assets safe? I'm sorry for that. And how are we managing them? Governance is something which we push top down. So consider it to be like an umbrella. And cybersecurity is the guy who is holding that, CISO or CRO, right, for that matter, who is making sure that the umbrella is covering the complete company. Right? So a very different perspective of how we start looking at it. And that's why in GRC, you'll see a lot of managers' position, right? Of course, there are a lot of fractions, right? Like risk analyst. And please, with all due respect, that is where exactly one should start looking into. Where do we want to get into? Because that is where you understand what happens from a top-down approach at the ground level, right? But now in GRC, again, pretty much majority of the chunk work is done by managerial position, majority approvals.
Okay. And we have got the clear information. It's a top-down approach. So you mentioned that it's a top-down approach where the management positions will be even freshers also getting into those domains. And let's say for an offensive engineer, so we have a certifications. We'll just go with like a CRPT or CTRPR. They'll go with the OWA in Voyage CPA. Like there are lots of certifications. There are many vendors they provide for a certification.
Correct.
Because we have got many questions from our channel. Hello brother, so I just completed my college just now. Okay, so I belongs to a BSc or BE Cybersecurity background.
Sure.
And few persons they mentioned, so I have 10 years of experience, I have 5 years of experience.
Okay.
Now, when I look into job descriptions, because I search for Naukri, I go with the LinkedIn profiles, I go Indeed or whatever it is. So they always ask for 10 plus experience, 20 plus experience, 18 plus experience. But where do I get the fresher openings? Is there any sectors, let's say service-based company or product-based company, and let's go with like any kind of automobile industries or IoT, because recently IoT companies are there. There are many projects are getting into it.
Correct.
Even automobile sectors, they have different GRC policies.
Correct.
Even there are some IoT sectors, they have a different GRC policies.
Sure.
Now, as a fresher, which one I need to focus first? Because as a engineering background, I always see a global programming language or master of any kind of computer applications or C++ language.
Sure.
But where do I need to focus it? Because when you mention top-down approach, as a layman, as a junior, do I believe they will give like okay, as a risk analyst, you have a 0+ experience, you will be placed in a particular job description or job domain. Is there any other companies or else it's purely into a 5+ experience? So how do I focus on it?
Absolutely, and a good question. I wish I knew that 20 years back when I started my career, because I had a similar thing. That's why I started as a software engineer, and then eventually risk management is what happened to me, right? So how I started was, there are multiple products, right? And from top of the line, two small smart vendors who have their own offering of GRC products. So any engineers, any, as you said, cybersecurity enthusiast, right? I would encourage, go ahead and start exploring those products. Up till now, we are not talking of what is risk management.
Exactly.
We are just saying, this is a product, how it can be deployed into an organization. What it will do is, you will be right into the nucleus of GRC. So now you are understanding. Let's take example of ServiceNow. Majority of the companies have ITSM as a product, right? ServiceNow from last decade have entered into the GRC domain, and they're pretty much right at the top of the quadrant, right? Integrating AI. Now what we do is, an ITSM engineer can also get exposure into risk management. If you want to get certified in risk management, well, guess what? You have to still complete it's part of ITSM, right? So that's the most beautiful part, that you need to understand, once I have this risk matrix, once I have this risk profiling, once I have this policy and procedure, how it is going to get implemented. Eventually you'll have a product line. Well, that's the hack, how you can get it much more faster. Second is, of course, certification or education. So there are a lot of risk management certifications. So if you just search for GRC certification, of course, as I said, the name ServiceNow, that will be one. There's from Archer, there's from Microsoft, Oracle, you name it, and big giants have a governance, risk and compliance, or a risk-focused certification path, right? Select which path do you get attracted to. All of the part will have 10 to 20% variant. Well, again, the reason I say 10 to 20, because risk is managed in a particular order, right? At some places, compliance can be at top, it can be at bottom, but risk has to have a dotted line to compliance, right? So where do you want to start with? What kind of experience do you have? Now, coming out of college, we are like, okay, I don't have any experience. Well, no, you do have experience, because you did a lot of projects in your 4 years of degree. Do you like to code? Well, guess what? In GRC, You're very good for a technical aspect, where managing those products, working with the business team, but on a tech front. No, I like more of managing that how it should be deployed. Guess what? You are on the GRC on the business side. So GRC opens up a spectrum where you can explore between a business to a technology front end. And that is why I love GRC the most, right? Cybersecurity will always stay close to my heart, right? That is where I have maximum of my time invested. That made me the ground up approach, where I started as, where should I get into ethical hacking? At that days, Google, how can I be a hacker? Right? Nothing came. And someone said, hey, search for how can I be an ethical hacker. Oh, there's something called a certified ethical hacker. Let's go and do it. Now that's a different discussion. Am I using anything of that? That's totally different. But at least I found the ways of what this cybersecurity world is, right? What this world is from a GRC perspective, these certifications will help you that. For example, CISSP, I strongly recommend, if you're in cyber, you are in GRC, you should have a CISSP. Now again, that asks for experience again, but you can get an ISC associate, right? Please check on their website. You can check. What they will do is, they will ask you for the knowledge of the 10 domains. You'll get certified based on that. You will get first an associate degree. And once you complete your, 3 or 5 years, which they keep on changing, you will get your next certification. Now, I don't want you to look at it as just a piece of paper. I want you to study CISSP, actually understanding, this is what goes in the back end, right? We call that a big movie is getting released. What is happening behind the scene? Well, that book, that information, right? Use it as your holy Bible, and that will keep on churning for your next stage. So, certifications, yes. Product line, yes. Before that, the question is, do you like the business perspective? Do you like the technology perspective? And that could help you, because technology, as I said, is a smarter hack. Go into a product line. And again, switching from product A to B, it's pretty easy. We all, whoever worked into, from my days into C++, right? We have seen the spectrum of VB to .NET to C# and God knows what all, right? As the technology evolves, your language will change. But in GRC, if you have your foundation correct, if you understand what is governance, why risk is important, right? I find many engineers, hey, I'm a GRC certified. Fantastic, kudos. Why do you do GRC? As simple as that. And that is why they're like, not sure. So, that would be my recommendation to start with.
Exactly, Mr. Cherag. And you have given lots of insights on GRC parts. And the person who completed their college. So 4 things, as we can say, like a top 4 points with Cherag has mentioned. First thing is, if you are working on a software, if you are working on any other applications, you just work on the flow and how they are going to implement in an enterprise level about a risk activities. Let's say you are installing a VLC media player. I'm just giving you this example. How you are installing VLC media player in your environment, but the same VLC media player, if you are installing in a corporate environment, the policy and the framework will be different, because you should not install a VLC media player in a corporate laptops. So that's what, if you are installing any other applications, if you are doing any other activities, and how that will impact in an enterprise level. So that is the first point which Cherag has mentioned. Second thing is, choose your path, because it has a multiple domains. Even in cybersecurity, you do have a multiple domains, but depends on your interest, depends on your career level. You need to choose it accordingly. And that's what even Cherag has mentioned. The second point is, choose your path. Third thing is, choose your certification. Path is totally different, certification totally different. Because I want to choose a path where I don't want to become a cybersecurity professional, but I want to become a content creator. But at the same time, if you are choosing a certification, that is totally different. So certifications and technical skills and soft skill, leadership skills, management skills, that is totally comes in a skills perspective. The path is totally comes in a certificate perspective. So that's what the third point is. If you are doing basics, you need to thorough with you need to clearly with the basics. That's what Cherag was mentioned. CASSP, it has 8 domains, and out of 8 domains, without knowing any basics, if you are covering with the 8 plus domains, it doesn't make any sense, even though if you have a certifications. That's what you want to make sure. Go with CC. Even ACE2 has a CC, Certificate of Cybersecurity. Just go with it and you learn lots of basic cybersecurity steps. The fourth point is, whatever the skills that you have and how we are going to implement in an organization perspective and how we are going to utilizing it. Because I can install softwares, I can go with the certifications, and I have a skills and I have a certification. Cherag was mentioned, I wanted to become a GRC professional. I have a certification, but what do I do with the certifications if you don't know anything about the basics? So always, and it was an excellent insight, Mr. Cherag, and thanks for your inputs as well, because there were many questions has been asked by the cyber warriors.
Okay.
And a couple of questions has been, we got feedback, input, they were questions. Sure. It was, okay, I just got into a GRC domain. Even if you are searching for Google topics, or if I'm searching in Google, okay, what is GRC, and it will be keep on coming frameworks.
Sure.
Because first thing is frameworks.
Sure.
And the second thing is, okay, then impact, risk analysis, risk impact, risk analysis, adjusted risk rating calculation.
Correct.
So what is all these things? Because since I am a basic, I've always read the small thing is the cryptographies, because even that's what our college curriculum is. Even if you look at the college curriculum, you just go with the college cryptography.
Sure.
And what is cryptography plays a vital role here. IAM, identity access management. What is the vital role plays over here? Privilege access management,
Correct.
risk analysis. But what is the vital role which plays in the GRC areas? What is frameworks? What is policies?
Sure.
Because I'm pretty sure college curriculum doesn't have such kind of curriculum where we never seen such kind of activities. We always go with the Google search.
Correct.
For such a scenarios, how the college persons, the students wants to learn such kind of activity, GRC activities.
Sure. Again, a good question, and I so wish I had someone who had mentored me almost 2 decades back. So, as you said about policy, right? Let's start from policy and we'll move our way around the complete GRC world. So framework. What's the easiest example of framework? When you log on to your email, it asks you to reset a password. Number one, it will ask you to set a password with predefined condition. It has to be 8 characters, alphanumeric, blah, 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 right? What is this? This is the policy. How it is deployed is the procedure that, hey, every 90 days, my bank will say your password has expired, please go ahead and change it. Well, I hate them for that, but we all have remembered enough passwords in our life that we're like, how do we manage it? Now, if I don't keep my password safe, let's just take example of my email. If I don't keep my password safe and if I don't change it, what will happen? That is risk.
Okay.
How do okay, so my email got hacked. Now, how do I fix it? That's risk mitigation. What do I accept? That's risk accepted. What do I write off? That, you know what, this 5 application, because my email got access, they got access, it's not worth it. I found a workaround. That's risk adhered, right? That is risk. Now, continuing forward, how do I ensure that this doesn't happen again? We're now stepping into the borderline of compliance. Am I checking every 90 days, or am I setting up a reminder that, hey, go ahead and change your password? Well, most of the email, banks, everyone will do it for you. But let's say you don't want to enable that feature. A simple message that, hey, 90 days, go ahead and change your password, right? What are you doing? You are staying compliant with anyone else? No, you're staying compliant with yourself. Now, in the same example, if you blow it up from a company perspective, we just took one example of a password. Antivirus on a laptop. Let's go ground up. Antivirus on a laptop. IDS, IPS, intrusion detection and prevention system. Firewalls, right? We don't want, most of the companies this day, they have not enabled all AI and generative AI access. They've not enabled access to Facebook and Instagram. Well, it's not only to prevent their employees from misusing their internet, but it's also due to a possible vulnerability which can creep in from that website, right? How do we do that? Cyber world comes in, but again, where is it written? Guess what? We are going back to policy. So everything of how an employee should continue their task for completing that deliverable. Let's say they are working for some other company, if they're in consulting, how I started, or they are directly with the bank, how I ended my career. It depends on which side of the table you are, but you will have a policy what you will have to adhere to. Now, I'm working for a client. My company has given me a laptop. Why do I need a second laptop? Well, you might have access to broad data. Oh, production data. If you have access to your same laptop, how much time does it take to take a screenshot and send it? On the company's laptop, client laptop, they will prevent it. You might take a screenshot, but it will not allow your email to be sent outside the domain. So my company name is ABC. So Cherag at abc.com. I send it to xyz at hotmail.com. Nah. Where is that written? Policy. How is it deployed? Procedure. What happens if it gets compromised? Risk. How do we mitigate? Is again going back to procedure. What happens? We become compliant. When we become compliant, what happens? The governance umbrella, what we talked at the start of this podcast, that gets secured. What happens when that? It's building brand. It's protecting brand. So always take GRC as one to protect your brand. Cyber being the foundation, the rooftop being GRC. Right? So consider it like a house. Foundation and rooftop, both are important. Without one, either you'll have a leakage from top or you'll have a drain pipe busting from down. And that's why both of them go hand in hand. So many times I see, and when I take interviews, they're like, what is your experience in GRC? And they would open it up. Okay, now what's your experience in cyber? Oh, no, I'm a GRC guy. GRC resource. I'm like, okay. And for me, that is like, how is it possible? You are saying that I want to go and buy a car, but I just drive it on two wheels on one side of the car. Is it possible? No. You need four wheels. Well, two are with cyber, two are with GRC. So it's not an either or, it's an and. Right? In our programming language, we write ampersand twice, it's that and. It cannot be ignored. Well, again, once you move up the chain on one path, CISO or CRO, eventually the next would fade, but it will never be zero or zilch that, oh no, I don't care about what's happening in the cyber world. The CRO will never say that. And I don't care how GRC is deployed. CISO will never say that.
Yeah.
Right? So that is also very important, that no matter which career stage you are, fresher, 5 years or 10 years, please keep your vision broadened. Because GRC, just imagine you are safeguarding the complete company, organization, enterprise. That's why we call it as enterprise products. Right? It's not a company product. Now the difference, enterprise and company, enterprise is all the employees, no matter what function they do, they will have something to adhere on to out of that policy. Company, oh, in my enterprise, I have only 20 IT guys, only they have to manage this. Right? So that is how you will start noticing a difference.
Thanks for your input, Cherag. You have given a detailed explanation about what is governance, what is process, and you have given some real-time scenario as well. If I'm going to install a Adobe Premiere Pro or any editing application in my personal laptop, who cares? No one cares. But the same softwares or same applications or any PUP, potentially unwanted programs, they usually call it in corporate environment. If you are installing in your corporate laptop, of course, organization case, that's what GRC comes in. That's what he mentioned. If you are installing an application, if you are doing something in your corporate laptop, of course, something has to governance with the policies. And policies, there is other policy called in corporate environment, BIOD, bring your own device policy. If you are going to bring your device, of course, there will be a policy. If you are plugging in if you are plugging your pen drive in a corporate laptop, there will be a policy. And I'm going to relocate from one place to another place, and there will be a policy. That's what policy comes in. In a corporate, each and everything comes under GRC, and we have summarized very well, Mr. Cherag. And other question is, I wanted to get to a cybersecurity domain in a GRC and just got placed and first day of office. Okay, now they are giving me a scenario. you just bring some kind of frameworks. Is there any customized or pre-built frameworks? Because let's say there are couple of pre-built frameworks, we can say, because that's what organization follows it up. Even any corporate, any MNCs, they follow one certain policies, certain frameworks, and we would like to know what is the customization policies, what is the predefined policies, we can say. So what is predefined policies, predefined frameworks, customized frameworks? Because, and one more thing also you mentioned, who cares about risk? Few companies, they cares about compliance. Few companies, they never care about compliance. They don't know what is regulation. They don't know what is risk. They always say, we have a product and we will sell it for $1,000. And if you ask them, do you have any cybersecurity governance certificate? They say, what is cybersecurity? And you have clearly mentioned and summarized it. And there are a couple of companies, they don't know about what is regulation. We would like to know about what about the predefined frameworks, predefined policies, which the most of the organization use it. Because if we would like, if we know such kind of names, what we can say is the cyber warriors, the people, they directly go to such frameworks, they try to get knowledge from the predefined program itself. So we would like to know about the predefined frameworks, Mr. Cherag.
Of course. And you made my answer simple by going into regulation. Now, who defines regulation? So very simple. Let's say government as a top body defines regulation. What needs to happen in India? So all the companies on enterprise, what we have in India, they have to adhere to a particular standard. Right? India has said that you cannot go ahead and do business with XYZ country for whatever reason, right? Without going into politics. Now that is a predefined regulation which is written somewhere. That's called a framework. What are some of the framework standards? NIST, COBIT, ISO, HIPAA, GDPR, and there are a dozen more. If you want to go into more of the risk domain, I would advise go and study NIST risk management framework. Very simple, 10 to 12 page guide. You find it, just Google it, you find that. It's free. Go ahead and download it. You need an account, free to create it. Go through it. It will help you to understand how does NIST look at all enterprise for their risk management framework. HIPAA, health. If you are going to serve for a company, a client, or directly into healthcare, you will need to know that as a doctor, you cannot go ahead and leak information of your patient without their information. Right? Now again, all countries would have different standards, and that's an example of what GDPR does. Right? So in United States, North America where I was, few of the states have a higher GDPR standard what they have to adhere to as compared to everyone else. Like in US, I was in Phoenix. My information can be shared if I have approved, but if the same if I'm in San Francisco, no, it cannot be. Where was it written? It was written in GDPR. And that is where the most important role comes into play, right from risk analyst to CRO, of what framework should we implement in our organization. For that, again, what our organization does, whom does it cater to? Example, let's take example of aviation. Flights going in now. The risk is of life now. HIPAA, health, risk is of life now. So they have the most strict regulation standards, regulation boards, right? More simpler way, of course, we are in the world of AI now, where information is much better, cleaner available. Right? Go ahead and write and search that what are the standards that I have to apply for aviation in India. Blanket open-ended search. You'll get 50 odd standards. Now try and search that, divide it into what standards are for governance, compliance, policy, risk. You'll find a flow that what needs to be implemented how, and that goes back to our programming days or cyber days. Very simple, if else loop. We all have studied that as the first kind of logic, hello world, and after that if else loop into our engineering. What that does is What should happen if this fails? Oh, if this passes, what will go for an approval? Consider the complete GRC and cyber world now into an if-else loop, right? And identity and access management, I remember you brought it up, and that is a very important part, which goes in synchronization with the other two wheels, which is GRC as well as cyber. Why? How are my users onboarded, managed, and once they're terminated, how their access is revoked? Say, I no longer work with the company which I was. If my access is still enabled, I guess if I've not gone with a good note, I can pretty much get the world down. Right? I love all of my companies which I work with, but at the same time, the day it was my final interview with HR, when I walked out of the company, that's it. Email was gone. Again, they have a particular policy that someone has to keep it for 7 years, someone has to keep it for 70 days. That's specific to their enterprise. Don't try to focus on that. Don't try to remember that, because that will overload you with information which is unwanted at this stage, because that information is available online. That is mentioned in the regulation that if you're in aviation, you have to keep the data for X years. HIPAA, you have to keep it for 7 years or maybe more. Fintech, you have to keep it for 7 years. What information for 7 years? It's not a blanket statement that every information should be kept in for 7 years. Right? So don't bombard with that information, but understand what regulatory standards will play your roadmap as you move into any of this domain. So I'm a fintech guy, right? And I did a lot of retail work. But you might be in aviation, someone else might figure out that, hey, let me stay to the consulting side of it. What will you help your clients, your company, is what will also help you that, hey, this sounds good for me, this is nice, and this is what I want to work in, right? So maybe that would help as well.
Exactly, Cherag. So you've given like many insights on about standards and regulation.
Yes.
And one real-time scenario also you just gave. Your company would be having multiple tools and technologies, depends on the domains. Let's say depends on the technologies. You might be having cloud security tools. You might be having application security tools, infrastructure tools, recorded future, threat intelligence tools, and dark web investigation. You might be having multiple tools and technologies in your environment to make sure your companies are safe. But I want to bring a new product to my company, and if I want to onboard those tools and technologies in my company, what would be the standards that I'll be having? What would be the regulations that I'll be having? Let's say you'll be having the automobile industries, and you will be having IoT industries, oil and gas industries, and you have a different industries. And as Mr. Cherag mentioned, whatever the industry you have, whatever the tools and technology you might be using, but there will be a standard to implement each and everything. I cannot just like that just go with the vendor and give some money, like 1 crore money, and please install this application in my environment so that the tools will be executed automatically. It is not just like that. So if you want to bring a new onboarding environment, if you want to bring a new vendor to my company, and of course they need to be a regulatory one, which is whether your application does have any open source things, whether your application does have any third-party consultant, third-party resource, whether your application has any third-party gateways, whether you are hosting in an on-prem environment, whether you are hosting in an internal environment. So there are lots of standards, procedures are there. So that's what you clearly mentioned. So standards and regulations, because that's what comes in a GRC part, Mr. Cherag. And now the other question is, you are also mentioned, now AI comes in. Do we have any AI regulations for GRC? Because the thing is, previously we got see many articles. There are many products coming in a market where they are implementing AI things. So AI, which is something like a risk analysis, risk assessment, automobile like auto remediation part. Even there was a case studies which I have seen in hyper automation. Because when I was looking at the article, I have seen like if your company has a tool, the tool detects a vulnerability, the vulnerability has a critical scoring, the critical scoring will be having a grade. Based on a grading, based on the company internal policy, there will be adjusted risk rating policy, which means if the tool says my company has a critical issue, that doesn't mean I have a critical issue for my own company. So based on the adjusted risk rating calculation, AI will automatically remediate with the hyper automation things. So we would like to know how how AI plays a major vital role in GRC area. Cherag.
So a short answer, it is extremely vital, right? Because these days, how the products are being engineered is what we used to do, and you gave the example, right? What a risk analyst, a risk custodian, a data custodian, a business custodian. Again, this all are jargons, but basically it represents just one thing. Who is managing the data, at what place, at what time, in what way, right? And they have different titles. Now, what if someone is on leave? What do we do now? Okay, it goes to the manager. That's delegation. Brilliant. Can we speed up this process? Yes, we can. How? Automation. So that is when automated GRC came, right? GRC from Excel sheets came to GRC products. Now we came to automated GRC, where there are approval workflows. There is kind of a CRM solution built in. And now what has happened? Exactly the example you gave. AI using GRC. First of all, what policies should I have? So rather than have a human saying in, it will go to exact NIST website. You'll find out for aviation, what are the frameworks and the regulations or standards that I have to deploy. It's what? Use AI. How do I deploy it? Again, there's a better way to ask it, but how do I deploy? So what? We ask. How? We ask AI. Where? We ask him. So where all should it be? Should it be on servers? Should it be on laptop? Should it be on firewall? Or should it be on the complete network? The answer is that. And what if? So if a risk gets triggered, even after implementing, how should I? So it will define you with templates which will make your configuration or setting up cycles dramatically smaller. Now what happens is we are getting much more smaller. So GRC, better someone who knows GRC and cyber. Now, better someone who knows GRC, cyber and AI. Right? It's like everyone keeps on saying that, hey, now the GRC jobs will disappear, the cyber jobs will disappear because AI is taken. Well, yes, they will disappear. They'll be taken by those who knows GRC, cyber and AI. Right? So, now to answer the next question, does AI have standards? Yes, they do. Most of the standards which we spoke of, they came up with their update on how AI should be deployed, how AI should be used. An easy example, you go into Amazon and you go and try to release a book. They'll have a check mark out there. Was it generated using AI? You say, no, I'm smart. I'll not say yes. Amazon will have a policy, they'll go ahead and cross-check what that book generated using an AI. There are various tools for finding that out. If they find it, you're permanently blocked as being an author. What is that? Risk mitigated before something big happens. Such standards from an enterprise impacting to the end client is what GRC and cyber can do together. AI is doing the predictive analysis. Rather than a human checking that, no, this doesn't look like an author, it's generated using an algorithm. Well, guess what? It was designed by an algorithm, and an algorithm detected it was created by me. So AI plays a very vital role. Right? Again, don't get bombarded with the million tools. Right? You'll find a lot of places where they are like, yeah, I'll make you a prompt engine. Guess what? If you can talk to your basic generative AI and say, list me 50 best things in the last 1 year, guess what? You do know your prompt engine. Prompt engine is basically considered like one where all of your features you keep on giving thousands of results. You keep on shortlisting them, then all of them have the best match. Right? You give you just a filtered output. But the better prompts you write, better results you get. So yes, invest, right? Again, on your channel, spend time, courses which you spend time in that, because In school and colleges, what we do is we get educated. Right? Education is very important. A to Z. We're talking right now. Education is A to Z. Education is like, oh, there's regulation and standards. How do we deploy it? Is again thanks to you, and I repeat it one more time. I wish I would have met you 20 years back, because my journey would have been extremely simple in trying to find out which book should I read. At my state, that was the challenge. Well, guess what? Now we don't have that challenge, right? We have people like you who are leaving their job, who is so safe, pretty much at the top of your career, and now driving this that, okay, let me go onto social media, and rather than just people endlessly scrolling, let me educate them. So again, thanks to you, but yes, you use AI, use cyber, use GRC, and that is making your complete career more of an anaconda. Well, as of now, AI came in and did a lot of disruption in the last 5 years. Every decade, we get something new. At the 2000, well, those who are alive for as I am, 2000 was like, oh my god, will the computer start? Yes, right? It's just a number. It might come as 00, and we all found out a way. Hey, programming is coming, it's going to replace all the jobs. Well, did it do? Yes and no. It replaced jobs. The people who knew it. GRC, oh my god, used to manage, and cyber and all the events used to manage it. Who replaced the jobs? Who knows that now? We are in the next wave. AI. Who is going to replace you? Someone who can do your job using AI. So if you don't want that, you don't want to get the X, guess what? Use AI, use GRC, use what you like. Because that is very important. You can't do everything. You can't do AI, GRC, and cyber. But guess what? If you know all three, it will be a difficult time for you to get job, because the employer would be like, how can you know everything? Do you have an idea of how three can work together? That will be your differentiator. So all the students which you, all the warriors who are associated with you, a single advice, stay focused. Try to reduce the noise. There is a lot of information out there. Not all information is incorrect, and not all information is correct. You have to find out what information is for you. So keep on doing the good job. And for warrior community, stay connected, because finding community helps. Hey, I found out this is a new website, and it helps you to learn XYZ. Brilliant. What you did was, you did not save 1,000 hours behind learning that, but someone did it for you. So building a community in security world, let's come out of cyber, let's come out of GRC, let's come out of AI, let's just call it as a security world, is very much critical and important. I wish there was a standard written for that. Maybe we can write one.
Exactly, Mr. Cherag. So you have given the top 3 points over here. So one thing is, there will be a job impact? Yes, you mentioned yes, there is a job impact, but the decision maker should be a human being, because AI won't be a decision maker at any point of time. Because the first thing is, whatever the company is going to implement a new AI features in their own environment, and decision making will be a human. So, and always learn a skill. So he mentioned a word of focus. If you want to learn something, just be a focus, learn some skills. It should be a cybersecurity, it could be AI, it could be whatever it is. And third thing is prompt engineering, because there is in AI concept, in LLM model or any models, if you go with the prompt engineering, there is a website called promptengineering.com as well. You just go with the website, and there is, what is prompt? It is something like, I wanted to build a new code, and give me this code, and what, where, how you wanted to place, which, where you need to put a where, and where you need to put a what, and where you need to put a copy paste. So that's what the prompt engineering at the same time, but there will be a higher advanced techniques where you can use an SQL queries, and there are lots of queries, Python languages that you can use it. That's what prompt engineering that Cherag mentioned. You just go with it. And final thing is, even nowadays company also, they mostly use the AI features, Mr. Cherag, because there was a scenario 2 days back, even if you are applying for a job position, and Cherag was mentioning, even whatever you are generating from AI, of course there will be a plagiarism check backside. Even company will reject you. Even if you are applying for a position, even there are many companies, they will be giving you should not generate these descriptions via AI, so that we will block you. Even many companies, if you are applying for a job, of course they are implemented AI and with the proper standards and with the proper frameworks, and make sure, even though if you are using an AI, make sure you learn prompt engineering, and if you are learning prompt engineering, make sure how to give a proper prompt, and if you know how to give a proper prompt, make sure you just go with the classes and you just go with the certifications to make sure you are a professional and subject matter expert in a particular area. So it is not something like we just went to a website and I did a prompt engineering. Always keep a certificate. Always you should be in a position, as Cherag mentioned, SME, subject matter expert in all the domains. And thanks for your input, Mr. Cherag. And other question is, okay, now many companies has implemented AI, but what about the safety? Because I have seen a regulation, I have seen a couple of case studies. There is a even warm GBT, like chat GPT. There is a warm GPT where you can opt for $1,000 and you can place it in an on-prem environment. They doesn't have any regulation, they doesn't have any protocols. I want to hack a company and I have an IP address where they have a security scorecard and they have whatever it is. If you look at the security scorecard, it will be having a 9.5, even though it has a missed SSL certificates. It will be having a proper improper access control. Even it has a top 10 OWSP vulnerabilities. So that warm GPT does all it. So now, if I am implementing an AI, if I am implementing an LLM models, there is a AI prompt injection which can able to access, do it.
Correct.
So how do I secure it in my environment? Because even these things are may not, most of the professionals even they may not aware of.
Sure.
We are implementing an AI. There is a website called Hugging Face. They have all the models, open models. You can use the models in your environment. You can download, implement, deploy in your all your laptop. And even when you are deploying a model itself, there will be a virus. In that situation, how organization can prevent in such a type of scenarios? Because APT groups, that's what they targeting. Because they always go with the flow, and if I am a gamer, I download a crack game some point of time. Because not all the persons will be downloading a $100,000 or $1,000. In such scenarios, what about the APT groups attacks? What about the warm GPT kind of attacks? What about the AI attacks? If some companies has already implemented AI things, how do I secure from the particular thing, the kind of attacks, Mr. Cherag?
Sure. So, it's a pretty much catch, right? And that is where cyber defense plays the most important part. So, you have defined the policies, procedures, risk, how to mitigate the risk. All that thing is there. Framework is there, regulations are there, standards. Brilliant. You have deployed AI. Still not hacking. Now what? How to prevent from hacking? Of course, there are standards and regulations for that. But where do they attach to? Number one, cyber. And where do they end? At cyber. Right? Means, how can I prevent as simple as IDS, IPS? These days, IDS, IPS have been like an old story. Right? It has been replaced with way more advanced endpoint checkpoints, where they will go ahead and find out that did my employee did a 10 mouse click? Was he or she actually working? Right? So when you reach to that standard that you have to start deploying AI for your organization or for your client, again I said, NIST, ISO, COBIT, most of them have come up with their AI standards. Please make sure which standards is your client or your computer enterprise should adhere to. Such as that. Go ahead and make sure that the cyber policies are very defined. There is enough, the old school ways, the black and white IP address. Right? What traffic is coming in? What traffic is going out? The same example what I gave before. My company name is ABC, so I can send an email Cherag at ABC to prabodh@abc.com, but if I'm sending Cherag at ABC to Cherag at hotmail.com, is blocked. Right? Make sure this policies are also catered to. What is the inward? Now with AI, there are multiple AI model comes in, right? I'll not take a couple of names, but they're like, oh, you can deploy it on your laptop. Well, brilliant. An engineer asked that, will you ever upload my data to your server? And because it was offline, it said yes. The minute you go onto internet, all this information will go up. Guess what? Don't run with just a cheaper product of AI. Don't run in finding out how can I just be appearing cool? Now, unfortunately, AI these days is more of like, hey, I know AI, so I'm much more cooler than what you are. No, AI is there to make your job easy. It is not going to replace your subject matter experience. It can never. It will learn from you. Well, eventually, one day it could. Not right now. Right? So, what is your subject matter experience? How do you use AI to keep yourself safe? Best thing. Where is the lock and where is the key? It's at the same place. So, and it's like Tom and Jerry race, right? You defend, you bigger hammer. You defend, you bigger hammer. It will never stop. How you can keep on staying upskilled with the latest standards, with the latest products? Do you have to implement all the latest versions now? Did you run your check? Did you assess what is the risk that is going to come up? Is the new software, as example which you gave, compliant with your company standards? If there's no SSL, well, that's a clear red flag that no matter how good the software is, it should not be allowed. Right? So, some of these logical things which we often tend and ignore. Identity and access management. Is it going to ping any of my other users? That is where federation management step in. So as compared to this as an umbrella, cyber as a cyber defense umbrella, IAM now has a federation manager as an umbrella, right? This would often lead to overloading of information, right? So as someone who is starting a career or a tenure, again I'm repeating the same things. Have a clear path. Understand what is the risk on your path, right? Do your own risk assessment. What are your blind spots? So implementing AI is inevitable. What risk does it get? Do I know it? Yes and no. The no is your blind spot. Use that to get new information. The standards are changing. From when I did my first ISO implementation to now, well, 16 years down the line, it has dramatically changed. I can't go ahead and deploy that old standard. Well, for sure the company is going to get hacked the next day. Right? So stay upskilled. Stay in community, because you can't do as a single person everything. And that is where sharing information becomes more critical. If you have learned something, I understand that if two people are being interviewed, you want to outshine your competition. But at the same time, when you have your agenda of how I can be a better security officer, share. Because the more you share, the faster you will grow. So that is how I would look at AI and Catch-22. You just keep on evolving.
Exactly, Cherag. So the one-line answer we can say, we do have the corporate will be having a multiple mechanisms and multiple technologies. It could be in a different areas. Even EASM they will be having, cloud they will be having, security operations center, incident response, threat hunting, threat intelligence. They do have a multiple teams. But as a cybersecurity professional, so we always say, as Mr. Cherag say, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. But at the same time, you cannot reduce your critical or whatever it is. You cannot secure your company 100%, but you can reduce the attack surface. So that's what we always say as a cybersecurity. Even though you have 10,000 plus assets, even though you might be having 20,000 plus assets, you cannot save. So 20,000 will be 10% will be cloud, 20% will be AWS or any kind of GCP or Google. It could be any Chronicle assets, or it will be like Azure assets, and it will be like a EASM assets or cloud certificates, domain, Active Directory. You would be having multiple assets, but you cannot save. You cannot make sure those assets are 100% secure. Even any policies will not give you assurance. As Mr. Cherag mentioned, you can reduce your attack surface. That's what AI, even though whatever the AI which you implement, that's what we do have a governance, we do have a risk, we do have a compliance. And final question, Mr. Cherag. Now, I've completed my college and I've got 2 years of experience in a different domain. Let's say I've just got into a offensive security.
Okay.
Or else I'll just got into a domain of security analyst. And it could be a web application security or mobile application security is one part of a maybe we can say students.
Sure.
And the second part is the person who completed the college who got into a defensive operation, so it's a log management or it's a kind of incident management.
Sure.
And they have a 2 years of experience. Now I have 3 years of experience with no cybersecurity background.
Okay.
And I just came into a mechanical background, and then I just got into a domain of quality analyst. It is something like a Selenium tool, kind of a quality controller.
Fair enough.
And there are the few bunch of people. Cybersecurity is a term from 2010. There was a no cybersecurity designations 10 to 15 years back.
Got it.
Because even if you look at, because you started your career as a software engineer, cybersecurity.
Yes.
So after 10 years, there was a position security analyst, security associate analyst, and cybersecurity penetration tester. So now, the person who doesn't have any cybersecurity background, how to get into a cybersecurity domain with a fresher experience. The person who has an experience with a different domain knowledge and how to become a cybersecurity with after 5 years of experience.
Sure.
Now I have 8 years of experience with a different domain, whether the 8 years experience can be accommodated with the cybersecurity experience.
Sure.
Now in that particular area, how do I get into and with a different bunch of activities or this kind of experience?
Sure.
Cherag.
And thank you for asking this question, because many of the freshers to 10 years experience, as you said, whom I meet, and they're like, we'll take it example by example. So let's start with a domain-based experience. Let's take the wildest example. You are in HR. Okay. How can I get into cyber? Well, guess what? You can. IAM, Identity and Access Management. It's exactly doing the work that you used to do as an HR. The difference is you will join them as a business user rather than the technology implementer. Well, of course, it doesn't stop you from going into technology, but your easier role, what you will be able to crack, is on your business side. Similarly, for example, you gave an example of quality for doing something in chemical. Now they do quality assessment. Guess what? In business also, you do need to take care of the quality. Why? Because business is always worried about the brand. If something happens to their product, their brand is impacted, which is the level 1 for every enterprise. So you can get a job into the business end. Would it be easy? No. Can you get it? Yes. Again, couple of certifications, do like CRISC, right? Where you understand risk from a little more deeper level. Go into cybersecurity, and of course, I'm sure you have shared multiple certifications based on what level you are. Now on the other spectrum, you are someone like a penetrating tester, right? Or a cybersecurity analyst. How do you progress? First, don't leave where you are, right? Because that is where you are growing and you are gaining experience. What you can do is, you are pen test engineer for what? Which client? What do that client do? Get that experience. What it is teaching you? What that company's GRC perspective is. Now with your pen test, which is filling up the bucket for cyber, your experience of what client it was. Now many times we see resumes where they say, I have experience into financial services, retail, aviation, and like bundle of others. What does that mean? I have worked with those clients, so I know what are their requirements. What is that doing? That is giving you a domain experience. So one is vertical, the second is horizontal. You might be at that intersection, which is a very small niche like fintech, risk management, cyber expert. Start growing your box. Grow across finance. Oh no, if that doesn't work, grow across technology or grow across business. And that will give you, like I say, it's an elevator which goes into a chess mode where you can go up as well as horizontal as vertical. And you're like the queen of the chessboard. You can pretty much go in any direction, right? And have the best possible use of your experience. No experience is ever wasted, right? There are startup companies. Same example of quality is a startup company who would need that same experience. Guess what? You are an enthusiast, want to go into risk, you have that domain experience. What better to get two profile by paying one job for a startup? Hunt for that startup, work with them for 3, 5, 10 years. Means I love to work with startup. Why? Because you get the maximum experience, right? One of my friends once said that, hey, once you work in a startup, it feels like you have worked as a clerk and you have also worked like a CEO. Well, that's true. Why? Because you have understood that domain in out. So again, it's all about domain, all about sticking to your experience, how to maneuver your car, which is the career, that should I go left? Should I go right? And guess what? You can be the only one who can take that decision. No one else will be able to take it for you, right? Otherwise, you're signing up for a failure. So, this would be my advice to all those between not only 0 to 10, 0 to 20 also, that how should I take it forward? We see many army officers joining as CRO, joining as CISO. Why? Have they done anything? No. They know one thing, how to save lives. They know how to protect. Well, guess what? What do we do in cyber? How to protect the company, how to keep it safe. Perfect match. Right? Technology, you will learn. But domain experience, you will have to evolve. And that is what is knowledge. Right? No book will give you financial services has to do A, B, C. Technology will also not tell you it will have to do A, B, C. It will just tell you how to implement. Right? So knowledge, focus would be the key.
Exactly, Mr. Cherag. So 3 things we can take it from this particular insights, and it has a long insights. FTB, finance, technology and business. If you want to become a cybersecurity professional, either any of this domain, you wanted to be in a master. If you want to be a finance, of course, there are lots of finance background with a security background, you can go with it. And business and technology. Technology is something like offensive or defensive or these kind of thing. You need to install a tool and get to know about the tool, OWASP, SANS, such kind of certifications also you can do. And business, CSSP you can do, CASM you can do. So likewise, we can take FTB in a shorter term, finance, technology, business, and the person who has an experience with the 0 to 10, 10 to 20 or 5 to 6, whatever the experience you have, only thing which you have to focus is, as per Mr. Cherag input, learn skills. Because don't think about the reputation brand first. Wherever you work and whatever the technology you are working, and always see that as an opportunity. Because if you are working in a startup company, if you are working in a big MNC or wherever you are working and you have a task which you have a responsibility which you are working together or which you are learning by yourself, which you are working for a company or corporate, you are learning something which is each and every day you are learning something from the task which you are given. So always we say, as Mr. Cherag mentioned, cybersecurity is a responsibility, and wherever you are, please do learn and focus and don't think about the reputation first. And even one statement he mentioned, and the person who worked as a clerk and he felt like a CEO because he learned everything. I'll tell you the real-time scenario. If you are working in a startup company or any other small scale industries, or if you are working in YouTube as well, you are the product owner, you are the marketer, you are the advertisement agent, you are the financial person, you are the decision maker, you are the chief technical officer, you are the chief information technical officer, you are the architect. So don't think about the designation first, always think about the learning, because if you are learning something, then you will become a leader, and if you want to become a leader, you have to learn something. And it's been 1 hour discussion, Mr. Cherag. We have got lots of insights starting from GRC, governance, risk policies, and you have just given an information about how the standards comes in an organization, how the standards follows in an organization. Later on, you just move to an artificial intelligence, because there are many companies, artificial intelligence has been implemented.
Correct.
But even though the decision making will be comes to the human part.
Correct.
And later on, you just given some lots of career opportunities for the students.
Sure.
Because there are many questions has been raised from the cyber warriors. It's something like, I want to become a GRC professional, but how do I become?
Sure.
But you have given the lots of insights on your background and based on your experience. It was a wonderful discussion, Mr. Cherag, and thanks for your valuable input, and thanks for your time, Mr. Cherag.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Yeah, bye-bye.